Hey, Armand here with your forecast for the week, for your astrology forecast. Because, not the weather forecast, for the week of January 13th, 2020. So we're still jangling a little bit from last week's energy. The eclipse on Friday, the Uranus station on Friday, and of course the Saturn-Pluto conjunction on Sunday. We sort of know what's going on with the full moon eclipse. You probably have a good sense of what that was for you. The Uranus energy during the course of the week, I think many folks felt a little jangle, little irritation slipped in here and there. A lot of people had trouble sleeping. Combination of full moon and Uranus station, not good for sleeping. I should have told you that last week, though. Now in hindsight, it's like, it's interesting, but thanks. It would have been better to know beforehand. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction, well, we're waiting to see how that works out. You can look at the events on the world stage and see how that's going, see the direction it seems to be pushing. Gives you a little bit of a sense of where things are. But of course, it's the beginning of a 36-year cycle, so we don't really know very much at this point. On the other hand, as the week begins, the Sun and Mercury get into place over there, and they will connect with, actually the Sun, really not, Mercury's already hit. The Sun will get in there and trigger Saturn and Pluto and Ceres on Monday. So in a sense, Monday might be the day that we have the most overt manifestations of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Still, it's minute one of a 36-year cycle. So it's not a definitive time. It's just it gives you a clue, though. It gives you a clue. In terms of your own life, how much stuff do you have going on around 22 degrees of the cardinal signs is the big question. If you have a lot of stuff right at that point in Capricorn, of course, but also Aries and Cancer and Libra, you're very likely to be feeling this energy very directly. Other signs, you'll be getting it a little bit more obliquely, sometimes quite creatively. That's a thing that you will work out again over the course of a long time. It is, I think, an energy that we really deal with mostly in the collective. But see what happens with that. Also on Monday, while we have this very sort of intense energy on Monday with the Sun hitting Saturn and Pluto, we also have Venus moving from Aquarius into Pisces. Now, in Aquarius, Venus is kind of like, and this was through the holiday season, Venus is very much about socializing, connecting with friends on a sort of like an ideal level. It's a little bit more the social, political kind of thing. Who do you connect with on that level of we have the same general worldview? As Venus moves into Pisces for the next few weeks, the emphasis shifts a bit, and it becomes a lot more about spiritual values. Who do you connect with on a spiritual level, and where do you connect spiritually? There's a sort of mellowness. What Venus is actually doing here is introducing us into the Piscean vibe that is not too far away. We still have to go through Aquarius, of course, and the Sun is in Capricorn for this week, so it's not like we're going to be there in a jiffy, but Venus is starting to lead the way into that Piscean mode. We'll talk about that more next week when the moon gets there. Actually, a little bit further on from next week. But it's starting to get that sense of, what do you release? Boy, everybody, it's all you get. I've complained about it all. I'm not complaining, but I'm pointing out that all the times that we got to release and let go, release and let go. It's kind of like, okay, last year is done with, and we're heading towards that point, the Aries point, where we start looking forward to really start going forward with this year. And so Venus is sort of, there's a little bit of that comes in with this, a little bit of that sort of, all right, what's done? And that doesn't have to be releasing and letting go and, getting rid of, it's certainly not about getting rid of folks or anything like that. It's actually about bringing people in, but it's very spiritual kind of vibe that goes with it. So that's starting on Monday. I think that the first thing we'll see of that is on Wednesday, when Venus will sextile Uranus. And right away, this definitely is the kind of energy that might be a little bit about letting go of things, but it's also a kind of, it's also the kind of willing to make changes, to connect in a different way, to find new avenues, and to find new avenues to connect with people who you have a sort of spiritual alignment with. Uranus and Venus are in a harmonious aspect. Venus is in a sign she's very happy in. Uranus is in Venus's sign, so they're connecting that way. There's a lot of good energy here. This is not a tense aspect. It's opening up new opportunities. Mercury on Thursday finds his way into the sign of Aquarius, where he's very happy, and that is a very intellectual, idealistic kind of energy. So that's a very positive thing that we'll be feeling. And the first thing that happens as Uranus makes his way into the sign is that he squares Uranus, and this will be going on the weekend. It's probably most powerful on Friday, and Mercury square Uranus is an energy that will bring brilliant insights. Really great ideas will come into focus, and so on. Mercury very happy in Aquarius. Uranus in Taurus, there's got to be some practical side to this. So that's a pretty harmonious energy all in all, particularly because Mercury is in Uranus's sign of Aquarius. And so this is sort of big picture stuff, big picture, big vision stuff. It's, again, it's a positive kind of energy. It is a square, so yeah, some folks will blurt stuff out. There's a little bit of a tendency to speak first and think later, but that's not necessarily in this case a bad thing. It's because you sort of intuit stuff. It's not a feeling oriented intuition. It's an intellectual intuition, but it's an intuition anyway. You know, you blurt it all out and maybe we'll sort it out later. Interestingly, at about the same time, Pallas Athene, sort of the truth teller asteroid, enters Capricorn, starting to catch up with the other Capricorn planets, starting to find a need to speak the truth in terms of things that are going on in terms of government and politics and institutions and all of that. Of course, a lot of stuff came out last week at the full moon eclipse, and Pallas Athene coming into Capricorn is not necessarily going to bring up a lot of new information, but it will have a lot to do with the way that we use and convert that information. Now, the moon is in Scorpio on Friday, Saturday, and the Scorpio moon, Saturday, I should say, Friday, Saturday. The Scorpio moon typically has a sort of tense energy that isn't the easiest thing to get along with. However, I think it kind of works for us. It's been working for us lately quite a bit because it has good connections to the Capricorn planets. It has good connections. It has a connection, at least, with Uranus and Taurus. So there is this kind of ability to make harmonious connections. The Scorpio moon is always going to push us to go deep. It's always going to make us a little bit more reserved and cautious, but it opens up the energy a little bit too. You know, it's like, you go in there and you may have some difficult stuff to say. You may have some difficult feelings, but you can externalize them pretty well. So, yeah, I would say that the Scorpio moon on Friday, Saturday is a pretty good thing. I would buy into the Sagittarius moon on Sunday as being definitely more upbeat, outgoing, and that takes us into the following week. So I would look at that as being maybe a little bit more upbeat. It'll give us a good start to the following week. All right, that's what we have this week. We're starting out still within the tension of the eclipse, Uranus station, Saturn, Pluto, a little jangly energy. Tuesday, Wednesday, the Virgo moon helps us to sort out what happened over the course of the last week. All right. There's generally good social aspects going on this week. Friday, Saturday, we have to see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be just fine. You know, some people are going to have their moments, but hey, when don't people have their moments? And then Sunday kind of gives us, the moon is waning. By that point in time, we can really feel that the moon is waning, but it's in the sign of Sagittarius, so we get a little bit more upbeat kind of energy. We're still in the midst of Capricornian seriousness. We are tending towards Aquarian openness. This is the time of year. It's winter. I'm being northocentric, I know, but it's wintertime, but the light starts to grow. You get some clear days, even those crisp, clear, snowy days type of thing, blue sky. You start to feel a little bit more that breathing room of Aquarius, and even start to get a little bit of that Piscean feel of like maybe at some point in time this is going to switch back over to springtime. You start to get a little bit of a sense of that. That's what's going on this week. It's a week for sorting out what happened last week and what's been happening for some time in the past. And I will see you next week to discuss, this stuff.